sticking with more of the violence that happened across black communities after the Civil War. On May 31st, 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma became the site of a horrific massacre that was shrouded in violence for decades. A white mob descended on the city's prosperous black enclave of Greenwood and proceeded to burn, loot, and kill until scores were dead and 35 city blocks were destroyed. 35 city blocks because there were black people trying to help themselves. 100 years later, Tulsa is still the reckoning with this violent history. As it does, America across the country faced another truth. Tulsa wasn't like a one-off, as the white people like to tell you. Oh my God, okay, Tulsa, but. On September 4th, 1875, between 1,500 and 2,500 people, most of whom were newly enfranchised black Republicans and their families, gathered at the site of a former plantation for a picnic and a political rally ahead of an election. A white Democrat who'd been invited to the event heckled the speaker, inciting a fight. Witnesses said that the white Democrats turned their weapons on the crowd and started firing. In the days after, a presumed riot became a massacre. It happened in Clinton, Mississippi. 2018. This is before COVID and before George Floyd. This is talking about how you'll be talking about it now, but it's been there for a while. They did a study. The summary of the study was this: police kill more than 300 black Americans, at least a quarter of them unarmed, each year in the USA. These events might have spillover effects on the mental health of people not directly affected. The findings of the research: 103,000 black American respondents were exposed to one or more police killings of unarmed black Americans in their state of residence in the 3 months prior to the survey. Each additional police killing of an unarmed black American was associated with 0 to 14 additional poor mental health days. Right, we're up to part 4. So in this part of the video, I want to tell you guys about what we can do and what I do, and this is part of it too, being up here and talking about it, because it's one thing that they can't do is take away shit from us. You know what I mean? It's like maybe they could take away from our ancestors before because we didn't have the money, we didn't have the clout, we didn't have the smarts, we didn't have the access before. But I'm Tahyira. I was born an American, black American. My family are immigrants. They come from Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't care if you were born an American and your family come from the South, but guess what? I'm educated enough to help all of us. President Obama was educated enough to help all of us, you know? And we don't just help black people, we help all Americans by eradicating racism, because racism don't help nobody. All Americans are facing depression because we keep living in worlds like this. They're talking about the students struggling to go to school. We're not talking about high school students like it was before in our generation, and maybe your parent generation, and maybe our grandparent generation. We're talking about elementary school children that don't want to feel good because they're scared. What if I get killed in school? We caused this. So it's on our job to clean it up. There's a list that the Pew Research also put out. This is 2023. This is Black History Month going in. They said they put out a list of things that black Americans can do to combat this kind of feeling of like depression and feeling helpless, really. That's what I think. It's like we always have hopelessness. I talked about this on a previous vlog, maybe like 10 vlogs ago. But it's like helplessness, right? It's like, I don't know what to do. What can I do? I don't know. They're gonna keep blocking these slaves. I mean, I can sit and cry about it, or I can keep rapping about it. I'm gonna choose rapping. So voting. So you guys heard me say, well, I don't know if I'm gonna put that part in, but when my mailman came just now, he said it was like a lot of political mail, and I'm like, all right, so voting is important. We're big on voting in the black community. I think that was the biggest thing the Obamas and just Biden and all them too that supported it, and supporting what we're dealing with now, having all kinds of people in leadership positions just gives everybody a little bit like, well, listen, it's not just white people running it, so I feel a little better. That is the number one thing. Like us seeing, what do you call it? Diversity, equality. You know, the same thing that Ron DeSantis is trying to fight against. Giving space for everything. You know, equity is on my Instagram bio. It's making it fair for everyone to win, no matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian, if you're this. If you're good, then you should go. Not because your mom and your dad is like paid for your spot, for an example. Other thing they say is Black Lives Matter, or just staying in community. Like, so Black Lives Matter, why it's such a trigger to people who are not black, and it's like, I don't know, it's all lives matter. Like, the reason why all lives matter was response to Black Lives Matter is because as much as people hate and try to kill us and whatever, people need us in this country. You know what I mean? It's like music and art and fashion and what moves your fucking culture. You know what I mean? Like, Jay-Z is the top of our crop. Jay-Z can move white people's culture. You know what I mean? They'll make a movie. It's like, how are we gonna sell it? It's like, I don't send it to Jay. He got it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. They need us to move the culture. None of their shit's gonna move at all. So it's that part too. standing up, and you don't necessarily have to say Black Lives Matter or whatever, but it's owning blackness and being excellent at it and being great and just seeing like, oh, you came at Georgia and Brianna? Guess what now? Guess what now? Like, you know, that kind of energy. They said that that is the number 2 thing on our list that has helped us, especially in the recent years. I've been activated since maybe Trayvon Martin. I studied criminal justice. That's why I came in. I wasn't making YouTube videos back then because I'm like, what's the fucking point? I did march and protest and things like that, thinking things wouldn't change. And we did have changes. We got dash cam videos. They didn't have all that shit when I was in college, you know? But now it's like I stopped marching after George because I'm like, marching is not doing much. Now we have to vote. Now we have to make sure we have the right leaders and we're changing laws and you're keeping the conversation active. That's where YouTube comes in. Some Black adults see Black-owned businesses and Black-led communities as effective remedies for inequality. So that's another thing. Me being up here by myself and not working with a white-owned brand to do this gives me autonomy, gives me ownership, gives me leadership. You know, I walk into an educational system and it's like, why you want to be a Black educator? And I'm like, you don't have to ask Black people about why you want to be a Black anything, because that's what we are, you know? I don't know how a lot of white people got in trying to be like, oh my God, I want to work with inner city youth. Why? When you don't come from the inner city. I never understood that. I never understood police officers that come from the suburb, why you want to work in the hood. I don't know. It's like, just mind your business maybe. You know what I mean? But that's why I be out with it. The vast majority of Black adults say that the prison system needs significant changes for Black people to be treated fairly. So that brings me to what I've been talking about, RikersIsland. I'm trying to help AOC and all the rest, and I'm at least start moving real stuff towards closing Rikers just off the mental health and human rights issue. The fact that people can end up in Rikers, it's a pre-trial jail, so people die there before it's like you get arrested, they don't even know if you did it or not, and you could die just in holding because of the conditions. Because of the conditions in Rikers, you know? That's a big fucking deal for people like me who studied it and is like, just gets me up. It keeps me up at night and it gets me out my bed in the morning. So that's me. I'm a humanitarian, bitch. I need to focus something bigger than me. So that's what it is for me in Rikers. I opened up this video telling you guys, if you look right at the prison population, you could see that we're not far from what happened after slavery. It's true. And the final part that I want to leave you guys here for the Black mental health aspect of it is that we're not alone. That's the best part of it. I love when I see Michelle Obama and them jump out here and they're just like, listen, college signing day is giving educated Black kids, we don't care, all kinds of kids. You know, she tries to say all kinds of kids, but she like really focus on the Black kids. So that's cute. Bernice King is who I follow. She gave me a like the other day. That's Martin Luther King's daughter. You guys follow her, you should. She's super lit. She gave me a like, what was her birthday, and I shared. I'm like, oh my God, Black women don't age at all. Like, Black women don't crack. And she liked that one. I'm like, oh, come through, auntie. She shared today. Well, I'm saying that I stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, you know, she gives me, when I look at her and I'm like, well, she's still fighting. And it's like, she has it in her to clap back at all these people that be on her Twitter. Somebody said to her today, this is her responding to the Ron DeSantis DEI. She said, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law today to defund DEI programs at Florida public colleges and to limit how race can be discussed in many courses. This is an example of what my father, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., described as white backlash. So my last segment was, you know, standing on the shoulder of giants. We have to expect white backlash when anytime we talk about Black promotion or excellence or anything like that. Like I just discussed in Tulsa and all these other different towns, St. Louis, sundown towns. Like, why all that stuff exists if slavery was just like, oh, the equalization of the races around here, equalization of the humans around here, because that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about race. Look dark skin because we're born with melanin. We were born Black. We were born in Africa. Our roots come from over there. Some people are born white. They're born European. Your roots come from over there. You know, so it's like people talking about like, oh, racism that had nothing to do with it. Someone tweeted to her today saying your father also asks that we not be judged by the color of our skin, but instead by the content of our character. DEI doesn't support that statement. So that's a white person with a dog as their photo, commenting and trying to white-splain, that's what people are trying to say, or white backlash. But we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you're saying now, basically, white skin is not a part of that. I got into something with an ex-friend. I mean, I don't even know if she was one of my friends, girl that I knew. And she said the same thing. She was like, oh, well, how come white people aren't included when you say diversity? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, and I realized that was a Tucker Carlson, like, big, like, kind of talking point. Like, he put that energy out there into people's minds, meaning, if they're saying Black lives matter, that means white lives don't. Like, no one said that. But the fact that that's how you feel about it, we'll respond to that too. You know, and now when we start responding to that, now it's like, oh my God, you guys are angry. It's like, no, we're woke. maybe you should try it, you know? So that's what it was today. It's just always funny to me when people like, did you seriously just white-splain to the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., her father's word, make better choices? Like, these are all other white people, like, they coming back to defend us too, you know what I mean? Because if you're a white American in this country and you don't need to stay woke, because like what Joe Biden says, like, if you're not black, you don't vote for me, it's right. All these Democrat people, all these people, like, what do you think they're fighting for? It's not just middle-class Americans, it's black Americans. Pay attention. Pay attention. It's not just about money and all these other things. The Republicans will love to make you seem like, oh, we're coming to help poor black people. When all their history shows that they've gone out of their way to make sure certain groups of people never attain the American dream. They're not going to stop me from going after it. Make sure they don't stop you. Happy May. Take a break from Mental Health Month if you must. If you like this video, please subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. This is Talk 24. And Tahyira Savannah.